Marketing Your Private Practice is a podcast where you'll learn easy to implement tips and strategies to grow your business without spending all day online. I'm your host, Kathy Colaiacovo, and I teach practitioners the Thrive marketing method to create simple and streamlined plans by focusing on long-term strategies, not just social media. Discover ways to spend less time on your marketing, attract more clients, and build the financial freedom that comes with a thriving practice. One where you have time left in your day for the people and things that matter to you. Hey, private practice heroes. It's Kathy Colaiacovo, and thanks for listening today. I'm going to be talking and sharing some marketing strategies that have one main goal, helping you reach more people and bring in more clients for your private practice or business. But it does start by talking about email marketing and newsletters. I know this is a topic a lot of you practice and business owners always want to avoid until you start seeing results. It is something we cover a lot in the Thrive Marketing Academy in our group coaching calls. Members in the program are always looking to improve their results. And so we're always talking about different ways they can get more people reading their content and acting on the information in the emails that they send out. Just recently, I've had 3 members in the 2 different groups I'm running share some wins, and they were elated to share the results they got from sending out their newsletters. What happened was people were booking discovering calls, they were turning into paid clients, some were calling to book appointments, signing up to work with them. So when I say your email marketing can get you results and you can see results, that is what I mean. People reaching out and people looking to book with you. The trick here is having effective emails and newsletters that people do open and read, to have that information you put in them so they know what they can do for a call to action. So today, what I want to do is cover one main strategy that helps get more people doing just that, opening your emails. Because oftentimes folks bring their ideas to our coaching sessions. And when I review their emails and newsletters, the majority of the time what I'm seeing when I check what they've prepared to send out, there's one glaring issue that will often cause the people on their list to not open the email. And that's what we're going to cover today and talk about. Now, the number one mistake that I'm referring to in the title of this podcast is this glaring issue that I was talking about. And it refers to subject lines. Subject lines are the heavy lifters when it comes to email marketing. They carry the weight of the results that are going to happen with all those emails and newsletters you're sending out. And they're often something business owners overlook as being really important. But once they see how optimizing them can boost the open rates and get more people opening the email and then reading the content, they're always looking to get a second opinion on how to improve those subject lines to get even more people opening the emails. The fact is, subject lines in emails are what entice people to click and open and read the emails. That's why they are so important. Opening the emails, consuming the info, that is the main goal we're looking to do when we send these emails out. Especially for the emails when you aren't just educating the people reading them, but you have that call to action in there and you're trying to convert folks into being just part of your online community, in this case, in your email community, and you're looking to convert them into clients. It starts by typically having them click a link and register to call you, to book a call, to buy something, to sign up for something, or even to check it out to see if that's something they want to do. Marketing emails that have some sort of sales aspect to the content in them, they are some of the more important ones that you send out. But no one will take action on those CTAs that you've put in there if they're not opening them. And that's why we often focus on subject lines in the strategic review and coaching sessions we do in the academy. Because the folks in those groups are all looking to get more people opening their emails, just like all of you out there who are doing email marketing and sending out newsletters are trying to do as well. So when we review their subject lines, that's often where I see this mistake that a lot of people make with subject lines when it comes to marketing emails. And it's something you often don't think about. And that's why it becomes something that I refer to as being really easy to overlook. And that's why I wanted to dive into this topic today, share with you what this mistake is, so you know exactly what it is and how you can avoid doing it with your own emails and newsletters. So if you can change this habit and put this tactic of optimizing your subject lines into play, you will see higher open rates. And that's when you're going to start seeing more results when it comes to your marketing emails and your newsletters. And maybe you'll become one of the folks in my groups who often kind of laugh when they report back some of their results and say, well, I can't believe it, but I did this thing in my email and I sent it out. It's been, 6 months since I sent anything out. And I had somebody reach out and ask to book a call with me. So that's why I want to share this info with you. So let's dive into how you can avoid this number one mistake made with email subject lines. The actual mistake with this that we're talking about here is giving away too much information in your subject line. Now, let me explain this because I'm not talking about how many words you use or the length of the subject line. I mean the actual words you use, having too much information in the content or the context of that subject line. And that really is what this mistake is, simply having too much information, TMI. When you put in too much information in your subject line, you risk the people on your email list prejudging whether or not what you have in the email is relevant to them. And then they are going to make this decision. Are they going to open the email or not based on that prejudgment they see, based on the information that you've put in the subject line? And it's human nature. For most people, emails are an intrusion in our day. We're all overwhelmed with email. We all have inboxes that have hundreds of emails. And even though people talk about inbox zero, for a lot of people, it's not a reality. I'll be honest, when I go in and help clients with emails or have an opportunity where I see their inbox, a lot of times, and it's been scary for me because I do have a rule, I keep mine under 50. But man, I've seen some clients who've had tens of thousands of emails in their inbox. I don't know how I would work my day if I had that many in there because it's pressure and it just sits there. There are that many there and you've gotten to a point where it takes a long time to deal with. And this is why people get overwhelmed with emails and why they think of them as an intrusion. Because what happens then is as they're skimming through all of those emails and they see your subject line, what happens is they are going to make these decisions whether or not, and they have a lot of decisions to make here on whether or not they're going to open those emails. So people are really wary of time spent reading emails, which is why you don't want to make this mistake with those important newsletters that you're sending. Because I know what will follow here after this is you'll then start thinking, well, people aren't opening them, so the emails aren't working. And you're going to stop focusing your time on them. And then you're going to stop sending them. And that's not what I want to happen at all. Because this is your mind trying to rationalize, if it's not working, stop doing it. And most practice owners are always ready to stop sending emails. It is so common because this is often a big block business owners have with email marketing, is that, well, I don't like getting newsletters. My inbox is overflowing, so I don't want to send them out to people and make them feel that way. So when you get any idea that they're not working, this is where you often jump at the chance to stop your email marketing. But email marketing does work. I've seen it time and time again with the members in my program as we go through this, and I encourage them and help them get to that point where they're sending those newsletters. And like I said, even for people that haven't sent a newsletter in 6 months, when they send it out, they often get a really good result from it because people do want to hear from them. You just have to really optimize what you're doing with the content you're sending out there. And I'm going to repeat it again. Email marketing does work. And honestly, most online sales happen from emails. There's a lot of studies you can find out there about email and the ROI it generates. And the studies will show anywhere from $38 to $44 in return for every dollar you spend on email marketing. It's an astounding ROI, and it's why email marketing is one of the most effective options for marketing that you have available to you, especially as a solopreneur, someone wearing all the hats and doing all the work in your practice or business. I've said it before. If you only had an hour a week for marketing, I would tell you to write an article, send it as a newsletter, and post it on your blog, long before I would recommend you spend any time on social media. What this means is that as business owners, we need to embrace the fact that this marketing tool does work and get rid of our limiting beliefs that people don't open or read our emails and that none of them are going to get results. This is so far from the truth. So I want you to repeat after me. Email marketing works. The thing you need to realize here is why it's not working for you. You've got to figure this out and find ways to improve those results before you quit. Focus on improving what you're doing and optimizing it all to make it work better and reach more people. To get more people to open it up and consume the info you so painstakingly put together, or if you follow my processes, it was probably a lot easier to do than painstakingly, I'm just going to say. So let's look at why putting too much information in a subject line is a problem and is one of the top mistakes I see people doing. So I want you to sit here now for a second, and I want you to picture your inbox, and I want you to think about the new email sitting there, which is probably not hard for a lot of people, to be honest. And I want you to think about what you're seeing in your inbox, because the first thing most people see is that subject line. Well, they see that right after the send from name, which honestly, that's a whole other ball game here. And even how your name shows up as the send from name in an inbox is important too. But that subject line is often the deciding factor on whether or not your folks are going to open those emails from you. It's why anyone opens any email, really. And this is why planning those email subject lines is important. You need to be strategic with them. Creating subject lines that people will open versus ones where you give them a chance to decide that email's not for them and I'm not going to open it at all. And then maybe they just simply delete it. And that's what happens with this mistake of having too much information in a subject line. Because sometimes sharing too much gives people that reason to think, they're talking about this topic in this, so I really don't think that's for me. And bam, into the trash folder it goes. So the best way that you avoid this is to create a subject line that invokes curiosity versus sharing all the details of what is in the lesson or the content in the email you're sending. And to be very clear here, I am not talking about tricking people and using clickbait techniques. I'm not talking about saying one thing in the subject line that is not at all related to what is in your content, okay? It is really important to keep the content of your email consistent with the promise and the information you make in the subject line. Misleading subject lines, they only lead to mistrust and will increase your unsubscribe rates. And no one wants that. Email marketing and sending newsletters is all about building trust and confidence in you and your expertise to the people on your email list. So when I talk about saying a curiosity invoking subject line, what I mean is that you want to create a subject line that makes people think, I want to check this out and see what they mean by that. So I'm going to give you an example here so you can see and understand what I'm talking about. Let's imagine that you received an email and the subject line reads, "Do you make this mistake in your kitchen?" Versus one that might say, 3 ways to make meal planning easy at dinner time. Now, both of them honestly could get good open rates in this case, but one of them often will make people open an email faster than the other one. The one where people think when they're looking at that subject line and wonder, am I making that mistake too? People that are thinking about that in that way and they go, a mistake. I could be making it. I do work in the kitchen. I wonder what the mistake is. And then they jump in, open it to see what that is. Whereas if you've got the 3 ways to make meal planning easy at dinner time, honestly, that is an awesome blog post title. And it's a great one. It's keyword rich. It's very clear. And those are important for blog post titles. But as an email and a newsletter, sometimes giving that information can be too much and people will go, yeah, I'm not really interested in meal planning and not open it versus thinking, what is this mistake she's talking about there? And in order to find out, they open the email. So one of the things that you have to think about when you're planning your email subject lines is making people think a little bit about what you've written in the subject line and what you can do to put into it to make them open it to keep on figuring out what that message is you're trying to send. What happens when you give them more information, just think about it. If you're that person on the other end, you're busy, you're rushing your day, and you see that very clear subject line, and you decide your meal planning is fine right now, so you don't need that help, you'll be quicker to say, no, thanks, I don't really have time to read this email right now. You might leave it unopened. You might leave it to read at a later time when you're cleaning out your inbox and you see it again. But often you'll probably rethink that very first thought you had, which is, I really am okay with my meal planning, so I'm not necessarily going to do this. Now, at the same time, that 100% could be an opposite for some of these things. And that's why we're going to get into talking about a little bit of email marketing strategy and having a variety of subject lines. And we're going to get to that in a minute. But I want you to understand and think about the behavior people do when they're seeing those emails and the subject lines in their inbox. Because honestly, raving fans on your list, they're probably always going to open your email. But other folks, those are the ones we want to reach, the ones who might be more inclined to click delete versus reading it. So the fix to this is changing some of your marketing strategy when it comes to email subject lines and stop giving away all of the information and all of the details of what you're going to share in every email with the subject lines that you've got going there. And again, it doesn't have to be for every single email that you send. And in fact, it shouldn't be, but it needs to be part of your overall email marketing content and strategy. You do want to have a mix of types of subject lines. And actually, you want to have a mix of types of emails as well, because it is always best to mix up your content, whether it's email content or social media content. I always talk about my content formula for success: 30% business, 30% sales, and 40% persona. And persona means just adding a bit of you into what you're doing. The same goes for emails. You want to mix it up. And there's a few different ways that you can mix up your email content strategy. Number one, you want to plan for some emails that are out there to educate people, some that are intended to engage them. And yes, you have to plan for some sales emails. The second thing you can do is mix up the length of your email content. Some emails can be short, some can be longer, some can fall in the middle. That way you catch the attention of people who have different attention spans and like to consume content differently. You can get real and add some persona aspect of the content in there. When you get a little personal in your email content, people really get to know you, and that helps build the trust they have in you. Putting yourself in your emails will help people feel who you are and start to relate to you more. And for service-based business owners, practice owners, people are buying your expertise, so it's really important they trust you. Another way that you can mix up your email content strategy is to engage people with the email. They got on your list for some reason. Something attracted them to you. If you've been listening to me for any time now, it's probably a lead magnet that you put out there. Something got them on your email list. They entered their name and email. They wanted more information from you. So you want to be sure that you take the time to get a little more personal, to go a little deeper, to build those relationships, to engage them, to give them things where they can reply back to you and send you their opinion on something. So mixing up your email content, length, content, what you put in it, what type of email it is, that all really helps. And that's something you want to do is mix up your subject lines too. And so one way you mix up the subject lines is putting in some of these curiosity invoking subject lines versus giving away the exact information. So what I want to do is give you a couple of examples of edits that I've helped people, maybe clients of mine or Thrive Marketing Academy members, changed with some of their email subject lines. And with these changes, the goal was 100% boosting open rates, getting more people opening the emails. And for every one of them, they pretty much had a good open rate from these specific examples I'm giving you. They had a little bit higher rate than they had as per the norm once we made these changes. So one example here was someone had an email idea for a subject line of using word of mouth marketing to grow your private practice. What we changed that to was this often forgotten type of marketing can grow your practice. So we shrunk it a little. So one thing that's important too is not to have really long subject lines. And that's what I have in the second example too. So just thinking about how you can change things so you're not necessarily giving them all of the info that's going to be in the content. So here's another one. Challenge diet culture. And then we had a colon. Embrace that bodies are meant to exist in all shapes and sizes. Now that one's quite long, but we changed that one to when you begin to notice this about your body, ... Wow. There's a big difference between those two. You've got one that has something, it makes a statement, but doesn't give a lot of information. So more people would be inclined to click that and read it and open it. Another one was, can I learn to make peace with food without obsessing about my body weight? We changed that one to why everyone must stop obsessing about this. So you don't give a lot of the info, so people want to know what's in there. And of course, you know me, I put my ... at the end of that one too. The last example I have here is one where we did this. Liking how you look is the one thing that can change everything. And it's kind of hard to read, so it was a little challenging. But what we did with that one was we changed it to read, learning this about your body can change your life. So again, there's some aspect, people know we're going to talk about body, probably body image, but we don't give away everything, and it's not too long necessarily. So the thing you need to understand, this tactic is not going to work for every single subject line you do. You have to have that variety. And there are lots of other tactics out there for email subject lines too. There are times when those subject lines need to be clear. There are times when you may put a deadline in it, and that can help people open as well. There are all sorts of other tactics you can do, but it just depends on who you're writing to and why you're writing to them. So clarity sometimes is really important. So for instance, I send out reminder emails for people about the Thrive Academy group coaching calls. I'm not going to get fancy with these subject lines. They are very clear and to the point. They'll read something like I usually put in brackets TMA, which is our Thrive Marketing Academy. So they know it's for that. And then it would say live group call today, August 22nd. Very clear what's going on here. When you're sending emails to people who downloaded your lead magnet and you're sending that very first one, that's another important subject line as well. You want to say something very clear like, here's the ebook you requested, or here's the meal planning checklist you requested. So being clear at certain times, very clear like that, is extremely important. So I want to say too that this strategy can actually apply to personal and one-on-one emails. Clear and to the point almost always will help with business one-to-one emails, so the recipient knows exactly what you need from them too. So don't get, clever when you're looking to send things to clients or when you're looking to send things to referral partners and you have something very specific. Respect people's time and make sure that those kinds of subject lines are very clear. So with email marketing subject lines, there's lots of ways you can put variety into what you do. But one of the things you need to have in that mix is this strategy of invoking curiosity so that you get people thinking, and the thoughts that they're thinking actually make them want to open the email to see what else you have to say. So there are lots of other ways, again, that you can be putting that variety in there. But what really dictates what is going to go in your subject line is the content in your email. So that is an important element to consider, especially as you write and create the email content. Now, in my Thrive Marketing Academy, we have an article template that folks get as part of the program. And we have a whole lesson and module on using this because it guides their email marketing content, newsletter, and blog creation. And one of the first things in this template are the following 2 lines. The goal of this article is ... and the audience I'm speaking to is ... This is important information to put into your thoughts as you write and create the content for your emails and your newsletters. When you determine this before you write your emails, you're going to have a better idea of what kind of subject line to create, what variety of the mix to put in here. So as long as you remember, the number 1 rule for marketing emails is never give away too much information in the subject line. And then you mix in rule number 2, which is vary the subject lines and the content. You will find that you're getting more people opening those emails and consuming the content you put together and taking action from whatever you've got in it. Now, there's a bonus tip I have for you on this as well. As you create your email subject lines, I want you to always make sure you review them and read them out loud, not in your head silently, out loud. Speak the words and make them come out of your mouth. Then think about how it sounds. Then you may want to make some edits to have them read so that people will wonder, what is in this email and what is it all about? And I'm going to have to click to find out. That's what we're looking here, building some of that curiosity in some of your subject lines to boost your open rates and reach more people. So your action step today is to go back to the last 5 emails or newsletters you sent out. Check the subject lines, check the open rates, check the content. Does your subject line in those emails give too much away? And if you've been tracking your stats and using something like my stats tracking template that I offer people for free, you should be able to go right to that document now and review those subject lines and open rates of those last 5 newsletters. You might need to peek inside the email and look at the content to remember that, but take a look at it. Think about those subject lines. Are they all too much information subject lines or not enough? Do they have any variety? Is there a mix in it? And do any of them invoke any curiosity? And if they don't, then think about these lessons today and try something new with your next newsletter. Track the changes too, because you want to know what the difference is between what happened before you make the changes and what's going to happen now. You want to know if those changes are helping you get more open rates, more replies, more reach outs, more results. And by the way, if you haven't gotten your hands on that free stats tracking template yet, I will link to it in the show notes. It gets you started with a document so that you can be tracking your main marketing and business numbers that are important to help you know, is your marketing working? Do you have to change anything? And what can you do to improve? You will learn all of this based on the data that you're collecting and putting into that tracking template. And this is data that is easy for any practice or business owner to access and track too. It's not a complicated, convoluted tracking sheet, I promise. But that info in it will give you insight as to how you can go about making some improvements so that you are boosting the results from your email marketing. And if you want to improve those open rates even more, be sure to check out episode 12 of the podcast. I did an episode on how you can boost your email open rates by 10% in 10 minutes. So be sure to look at the show notes and click the link to episode 12 on the podcast. Adding that tactic from episode 12 to the one we're talking about here today on subject lines can make a huge difference in how many people are opening your emails, consuming the information, and taking action. This is Kathy Colaiacovo, and I want to say thank you so much for tuning in today, listening to my advice to help you thrive in practice. And remember, if you want to get there, that means having a strategy to improve the effectiveness of your emails and newsletters by getting strategic with those subject lines so that you do reach more people. And maybe even book some more consults and clients like some of the Thrive Marketing Academy members have been doing recently. And if you want to book a call to talk with me about the Academy and explore joining us in this group coaching and training program, I'll put a link to that in the show notes wherever you're listening to this podcast as well. That's it for today. I will see you all next time. You can find all of our show notes and resources mentioned at marketingyourprivatepractice.com. Be sure to connect with me on Instagram at pepperitmarketing and say hi. I'd love to hear any feedback you have, and make sure to rate and review the podcast and hit subscribe on your favorite player so you don't miss any future episodes.